Your shutter speed is the most creative option you have on your camera. Your shutter speed allows you to produce images that just aren't possible any other way. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use your shutter speed to create amazing images. I'm even going to show you a method of using two shutter speeds in the one image. You all know how I dislike the exposure triangle, for many different reasons. One reason is that it tends to give the impression that all of the brightness controls, your aperture, ISO and shutter speed, are of equal value. They're not. Your shutter speed is the setting that will allow you to expand your creativity so much more than any of those other settings. Your choice of shutter speed can allow special effects and amazing results over a broad range of creative possibilities. Faster shutter speeds can freeze motion in your image to give you a sharp, detailed subject. Slow shutter speeds can provide images with intentional subject, background, camera, or light movement, and in conjunction with flash or other light sources will lift your creative possibilities immensely. Of course, the primary function of your shutter speed is to help control the brightness of your image in conjunction with your ISO and the aperture. But your shutter speed is way more than that. Here are 10 options that you can use with your shutter speed to create images that you never thought possible. A fast shutter speed will allow you to freeze motion. If you use a faster shutter speed such as 1,000th, a 2,000th, 4,000th of a second, you can freeze that motion that's happening in your image to give you a sharp subject, but it still implies the motion that's there. With a little bit of wind, you can freeze that scarf in midair. People walking, people moving, you can freeze the motion with a fast shutter speed. That's one of the great benefits of using fast shutter speeds. A fast shutter speed will also help with camera shake. Camera shake is one of the biggest problems people have with SLR cameras and mirrorless cameras. It's just moving your camera a little bit while you take the shot, and a slower shutter speed can cause that problem. Sometimes we want a bit of movement in the shot, as we'll see later, but most of the time we want a sharp image, so a fast shutter speed is going to help you with that camera shake issue. Our shutter speed also determines how our flash synchronizes with our camera. Using a shutter speed less than about 1/200th of a second means that our flash will fire at the correct time to give us the image that we want lit by that flash. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it here. You've seen it in some of our other videos, but synchronizing that flash with your camera allows you to capture these beautiful flash lit images, be it in the studio or be it outdoors, but that shutter speed is a critical factor. When you're using flash in your photography, it just makes a big difference to be able to get that flash to synchronize with your camera. It opens up a whole range of different options for you to control your background and your foreground independently. Showing movement. When you're using available light or natural light, you can show movement in your image by just choosing a slow shutter speed and allowing that movement to happen. To create emotional images, images that are different to the run-of-the-mill. Our shutter speed will also come in handy when we're trying to do motion blur in our images with flash. Combining flash with a slow shutter speed means that we get a sharp image of our subject and then we get some blurriness from the ambient light that's in the room. If you're indoors or in a studio, you need to add that ambient light, but outdoors, it's there for you. You can just use that ambient light with your slow shutter speed to collect that ambient light after your flash is fired. This is one of my favorite techniques, being able to get a sharp subject and those movement lines to show where they've come from or where they're going to. We can use various different elements in the background. When we drag that shutter, when we make that shutter speed slower, after the flash fires, it allows us to get so many special effects, so many things that are different to your normal run-of-the-mill straight flash shot. We can use two shutter speeds in the one image. We can do a shot like this of Maxine at 1/200th of a second, and we can combine it with sparks in the background, a different shot taken at maybe 4 seconds or 5 seconds. All we do is blend those two images together in Photoshop, and it allows me to get this image without putting Maxine into danger of getting burnt. So using 2 shutter speeds in the one final image. Then we have intentional camera movement. When we're using natural light, we can use a slow shutter speed and just pan our image upwards or downwards or to the side and get these beautiful ethereal images simply by moving our camera during the exposure using a slower shutter speed. We can combine this technique with flash as well. You know how I love using flash. So the flash is going to give you a sharp image, and then your camera movement after the flash is going to give you the results like this. So controlling your flash exposure, then controlling that movement in the background with your ambient light. It tends to work better with darker backgrounds in the evening, at night, or in the studio, but you can create some really amazing images, different to many other photographers, simply by using this flash technique. Flash and then drag your shutter, moving your camera intentionally. Simply shooting at night with a tripod, using that low level of ambient light to create your image. You can open up your shutter for a minute, for 2 minutes if you want to gather enough light after sunset to be able to create these images. You can make a moonlit scene look like a sunlit scene. Then we've got light painting. Using a slow shutter speed, once again, enough time for you to use your torch or your flashlight to light your scene in various different ways. You can light from different directions, you can light with different spreads of light, you can light with colors. You can be very creative with this light painting technique, as you've seen before with some of the videos that I've already produced. And finally, we can do light drawing. Simply using an LED light or some sort of sparks in the background after our flash is fired to create something that's a bit different, to add something to our image. There are a multitude of different ways we can do light drawing. Okay, so a few things you need to think about when you're using your shutter speed, particularly at slow shutter speeds. A tripod is handy, a good quality tripod, one that you can rely on, one that's solid enough, one that's easy to use and easy to transport. A monopod can help when you're using moderate shutter speeds down to about a 20th of a second or so. It's amazing how stable a monopod can be at those moderate sort of shutter speeds. You can hand hold a lot of this stuff. The beauty of hand holding is that you do get that little bit of movement, that little bit of subject movement or background movement. So choose to do that, depending on the effect that you're looking for. Your image stabilizer can sometimes cause a bit of a problem when you're doing handheld stuff. So I generally prefer to turn it off when I'm doing it, just so I can predict what's happening with the movement in the camera. Don't forget your shutter speed. Your shutter speed is one of the most versatile settings you've got on your camera. You've got 53 or more different shutter speeds on your camera. So take advantage of it. That's 17 stops of difference between the slower shutter speed and the fastest. So take advantage of it all. Don't just stay in the middle and do the same that everybody else does. Play around with your shutter speeds. Try to be creative. Think of ways that you can make them work for you. I'll see you in the next video.